Welcome to Sitcom Showdown, a podcast that reviews classic sitcom episodes and inducts them into our very own Hall of Fame. As usual, one of us has chosen a sitcom episode and the other guy has no idea what it's going to be. Will they already know it? Will they love it? Can they be convinced that it's worthy? Let's find out on Sitcom Showdown.
Hello listeners, welcome back to Sitcom Showdown. I'm Steve and I've got Jeff here.
Hello.
Hello. And Jeff, it's our first podcast of 2018.
Oh yeah, so it is.
You pumped for this?
I am pumped for this, and I've got a suspicion that both of us have come in thinking, right, it's a new year, we better whip out the big guns after a bit of experimentation after last year, you know.
Yep.
So I'm looking forward to something epic from you this week.
It's my choice.
Yeah.
And you're completely right. I've reached to the top shelf.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling down an episode of News Radio.
Oh.
I'll tell you how awesome it's going to be.
Yeah.
I'd rank this one as probably my second favourite sitcom episode of all time.
Really?
Currently, yep.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a good one.
That's a big call.
In my opinion. It's called Arcade, and it's episode 4 of series 3.
Right.
It's not ringing any bells yet?
It totally is, because I know Dave's heavily involved in this one.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Stargate Defender.
You know where they're going. So, an overall description of News Radio for someone who hasn't heard about it before. The unpredictable boss of the station, Jimmy James, hires Dave Nelson from Wisconsin to manage his news radio station, WNYX in New York. Dave, who is very straightforward, and he's a young,
hotshot.
You could say he's a young executive.
Oh, yeah.
He has mixed success in dealing with his staff, who are a diverse, kooky bunch of people.
That's putting it mildly, isn't it?
Yeah.
Kooky. They're all completely insane.
Well, there's an element of insanity to them.
Especially Matthew.
Sure. Yes, that's true. This was on the NBC network in the US. It ran for 5 seasons and a total of 98 episodes.
Ooh.
From 1995 to 1999. Famous stars, another interesting background. Well, Dave Foley, let's start with him. Comic genius. He was, this role of Dave was actually written for him.
Really?
Yep.
I never knew that. Wow, okay.
On the strength of his performance in Kids in the Hall. You know about Kids in the Hall?
I've never seen an episode, but I definitely know about it. Yeah,
this was more of a Canadian sketch comedy show. But he has done a number of other sitcoms since News Radio. Have you ever caught any of those?
I've caught guest appearances. I didn't know he'd done other whole sitcoms.
Not where he's the lead, but he's been a regular.
Okay.
In a number.
Yeah, hit me with what he's got there.
Dr. Ken is one that I've watched recently.
Yeah.
And is Malcolm in the Middle one that he was...
I don't remember him being in Malcolm in the Middle.
No, okay. I haven't brought an exhaustive list.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to unload, but we haven't got time for
I'm just generalising here.
Okay, brilliant.
Because I want to move on to Phil Hartman.
Yeah, okay.
Phil, he appeared in seasons 1 to 4. He was famous from Saturday Night Live, and you'd also know him from voices that he did on The Simpsons.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know any of the voices that he did on The Simpsons?
Oh, I'm sure he did Lionel Hutz, the lawyer, just for a start.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, he plays Bill McNeil here.
Yep.
Bill is an egotistical news anchor who is a handful to manage.
Right.
Phil was sadly murdered by his wife.
Ah.
You remember that?
I do remember it.
That was a bit of a shocker.
You don't get much more shocking than that, really, do you?
No. Bit of a tragedy. Oh. So he's obviously not appearing in season 5 of News Radio.
Yes.
He was replaced by John Lovitz, is that right?
That is right. I like John Lovitz in everything.
Yep. Stephen Root plays Jimmy James, one of the all-time great sitcom characters, I would say.
I totally agree. He's the star of the show for me.
Oh, you think? You think he steals the scenes that he...
Oh, just the character, not the actor, eating scenery and stealing scenes, although you might not have meant it like that, but just the character of Jimmy James is brilliant, and he plays it so unbelievably well. So he's a very good actor.
He's got a massive catalogue of work.
Oh, what? Any off the top of your head?
Well, I've written one down here. He's the... I don't know if you know this movie. He's Mr. Lund, the blind radio station owner in Oh Brother, We're Out There.
I do know Oh Brother, We're Out There, but I don't remember him. I've only seen it once.
So the Soggy Bottom Boys, who are on the run from the law, come across this radio station, and they hide in there, and they tell the blind owner of the radio station that they're a musical group, and they sing this song, which and they cut a track of it,
Yep.
which becomes huge.
Right.
And they go on to fame from it. He's the blind radio station owner.
Oh.
Andy Dick. What can you say about him other than he's a bit of a crazy man?
He's a bit of a crazy man. There's this movie that, it'd be lucky to even be direct-to-video. It's called Division 3 Football's Finest. And I just watched it one day on a whim. And Andy Dick is in that as this crazy football coach who got sacked from his, teaching the kiddies football because somehow something got into the water he was giving them, and then they all ended up in hospital and all that. But he's a total southern lunatic, sexist, racist, just, good old boy, absolute crazy loon who gets hired to coach this football team. Because I think the college wants to not necessarily win, but draw attention to themselves. And so it's a big national story. And it's not the world's greatest movie, but I've watched it at least a dozen times. And Andy Dick is brilliant in it.
Wow.
And it allows him to just improvise and be a crazy man, obviously. But yeah, no, it's good. So, yeah.
He surprisingly is still getting work.
Right.
Despite being, well known that he's got...
A liability.
He's a bit of a liability, drug issues and
probably not turning
getting
up
arrested,
on time and,
not turning up on time and exposing himself and
all that as well, yes.
But he's hanging in there. Hopefully he'll get better at some point down the road. Joe Rogan. Joe.
Everyone loves Joe, and he's gone on to be far more successful than all the others put together by not acting.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
He is.
Jiu-jitsu champion, actor.
Yeah, one of the world's most successful podcasters.
Yeah, commentator for UFC.
Yeah.
All those things.
Mm.
Last one is Laura Tierney, who plays Lisa.
Yep.
She's a, executive producer on this show or something like that.
Yeah, you mean
she helps Dave. She puts the stories together and manages that side of things. Yep.
I mean, when you talk about their actual jobs at the station, it can get a bit hazy at times.
It's a bit fuzzy.
Yeah. Now, did you say Laura Tierney?
Maura.
It's Maura Tierney.
See, it's the inaccurate information. It's Maura.
Yeah, but she's in
Laura's
one of the
sister.
big medical... Yeah, Laura's her sister. She's in one of the big medical dramas.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Thank you.
Yeah,
Right,
she
cool.
had a long stint on ER.
Mm.
And
Great actress.
she also played Mrs. California in season 8 of The Office, just for one episode.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen that, but I thought I'd look it up at some point.
Okay. Are you listing Beth?
Beth. No, I haven't listed Beth.
Or Catherine?
Or Catherine. I haven't.
Okay.
You can't.
I've never seen them in anything else.
I've seen Beth in, should say the actress's name, but yeah, no, I've seen her in a couple of movies.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh.
Can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but yeah. Didn't mention them for the sake of time.
Fair enough.
This episode's written by Brian Kelly, who's heavily involved in The Simpsons. He's written a number of Simpsons episodes, and he's co-producer and that sort of stuff. And Jeff, tell me about your viewing of News Radio. How did you come across it, and how long ago was that?
Well, it was in the 90s. I mean, it would have come over here and been on commercial television, 7, 10 or 9. And being a sitcom, I would have thought, I'll give this a go. And it was great. And then I remember you used to record it on VHS.
Yes.
And so that would have guaranteed me being able to watch it.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's how you can be sure that we watched it on free-to-air TV upon transmission.
Yes.
It was taped on VHS.
Woohoo!
And, well, it would have been handy if I had a VHS player, because I could have watched it, but...
Nah.
That wasn't going to happen.
You'd be sitting there cursing the quality of it.
I would.
It would have been recorded on long play just to fit more in.
Yep.
Quality would have been awful.
All right, well, we're going to go and watch the episode now. We're going to go and watch Arcade, and we'll be back shortly.
Excellent.
Still at it, Mr. James?
So sad.
Come again?
So sad. All them humanoids getting beamed into outer space. My mom, my dad, my brother. There's nothing I can do, Dave. They're all gone.
Can't take my advice to heart, didn't you, sir? Does it at least help you with your score?
Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to see the screen through all these tears. You know what I'm talking about? I'm sorry. You want to play?
No.
Oh, come on, just one
No,
game.
I really can't. I have to get up early for the SATs.
Ah, of course. I'll see you.
All right, good night, sir. What did you say? All right. Well, it's been a long time, Stargate Defender. Indeed it has, Dave. I believe we have a score to settle.
And we're back from the arcade.
Yes.
Yes. Pay attention, Jeff.
Literally, because that was the closing scene.
Yes.
But we don't want to start at the end.
No, let's start at the very beginning. So we kick off in the staff meeting, which is probably not uncommon, while Bill is on the air. Important to note this.
Okay.
Beth is very excited to win the Budget Cutter of the Month award. Yes. She's pretty pumped. Her suggestion was to get rid of the old sandwich vending machine, which costs us an arm and a leg and no one uses.
Sounds very logical so far.
And it's got something to do with the fact that they changed the sandwiches once in a blue moon.
Oh.
Could have something to do with it. So her reward is that she gets to ring the company to take it out of the lobby. Enter Bill, who asks what they're talking about. They mention that they're talking about the sandwich machine, and he says it's the best sandwiches in the city. They're an acquired taste like a fine wine or a fine cheese. A sandwich needs to be properly aged.
Oh.
But importantly, he doesn't actually get told that they're getting rid of it. Next thing, Matthew and Lisa are doing word jumbles in the newspaper. Matthew's got an interesting methodology of doing the word jumbles. Just going through a whole load of random sounds to see if anything jumps out. Anyway, Beth comes along and she solves them easily. She's not usually thought of as being the brain box in the office.
No, she just goes bam, bam, bam.
Yeah,
and solves them all.
The letters jump around and put themselves in a certain order, and next thing you know, she's got a word. Which causes Lisa to become worried about getting stupider. She's read something that says that the human brain deteriorates after the age of 30.
Right.
And she's expressing all this to Dave in Dave's office, and he sarcastically suggests maybe she should resit the SAT test to see if she is actually getting stupider than when she was a teenager.
Oh.
The next day, she announces that she's actually going to do that.
Right.
And then goads him into joining her.
Yeah.
In this reckless walk down memory lane. Meanwhile, Beth has not only organised removal of the sandwich machine, she's gone one better.
Oh.
Without permission, she's organised its replacement with a video game that's called Stargate Defender, a classic from 1981. Bill is beside himself when the guys come in to remove the sandwich machine and bring in Stargate Defender.
Oh, yeah.
He bursts into Dave's office and says, "They're taking it away. I've rescued as many as I could, but I just didn't have enough change to save them all."
The way he delivers it is brilliant.
Yeah. So he gets Dave to come out into the lobby, and of course Dave says, "Don't listen to this guy. Carry on, chaps."
Yeah. Get that thing out of here. And it was a really mucky-looking machine, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It must be 2 or 3 decades old.
The guy...
It's clunky and
one
big
of the
and
guys
brown.
has found one which was stuck behind the machine. And he says to Beth, have you got a bin? Or is that what he says?
Something like that.
And she says, yeah, I'll take it. And it's this plastic sandwich holder or container or whatever.
Yep.
And all you can see is this green liquid swirling around in it, and she blows this layer of dust off it. And of course Bill says, "I'll take it."
Oh.
And then she puts it on carefully.
It's a sandwich smoothie.
His precious cargo. And Dave has an interesting, somewhat extreme reaction to the unveiling of Stargate Defender.
Yeah. He totally recoils, doesn't he?
Yes. And we learn that he spent 2 solid years in high school hunched over this game in the arcade with the other pale, friendless virgins.
Yeah.
And the way, let's shout out to Vicky Lewis, who plays Beth.
Yeah.
The way she just says,
nails him.
Yeah, she just picks it.
Yeah.
And the way she conveys it, gets the message across, is just absolutely classic.
Oh. It's too early to talk about analysis of the episode, but it's a very Matthew light episode, but a very Beth heavy episode, and it's really good because of that.
Yeah.
I must say.
The night before the SATs, Jimmy has gotten sucked into playing Stargate Defender. This is typical Jimmy James. You'd expect the boss of the company to come in and make sure that everything's running smoothly and he'd be performing executive functions, but no, what he's really looking for is the cord to Stargate Defender so he can get on there and play it.
Yeah.
So he's been playing it for hours, right? He's not fussed about the efficient running of his company. He's playing the video game. Anyway, so he finishes the game and Dave happens to be walking past and he asks Dave if he wants to take over. Dave says no, but eventually
Jimmy just says, go on,
Yeah, he gets sucked
You
into
got
it.
to do one, yeah.
And that's it. He ends up staying up all night playing Stargate Defender. And, yes, he's sitting the SATs having had no sleep while they're waiting for the exam the next day. Lisa goes off, and I'll talk about that a bit later on, what she goes off to do. But these two young students come up to Dave and they say, dude, your mum is hot.
Because Dave's so young
Lisa.
Looking.
Yeah, he's a fresh-faced
kitty
guy.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, the SATs...
And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah, steady on.
Yeah. And Bill, after the SATs have been set, Bill makes one last attempt to get the sandwich machine back by dyeing his hair grey and telling Dave that without the preservatives that he was getting regularly from the sandwich machine, he's aging incredibly rapidly. Just absolutely hilarious. Joe does start selling sandwiches to Bill, 3 for $50.
Yeah.
And no, Joe hasn't tracked down
The sandwich guy.
the sandwich machine
People.
the equivalent in a different building. He's made them himself and he's strapped them to the roof of his car on the drive-in and
Put them through the dryer wrapped in tin foil a couple of times. And
this is typical Joe.
Oh.
Just hilarious. And in the last scene, Beth shows Dave that she's replaced Stargate Defender with a fortune teller machine. And she says, don't worry about it. You'll get over it. You'll come to love this fortune telling machine. And she gives him a quarter and disappears. And Dave looks at this machine and it's got the fortune teller figure inside the machine and it's got this handle that you hold on to while so it can read your fortune.
Oh, right, okay.
And he says, I want to be big.
Yep.
Did you get...
Yeah, the Tom Hanks big reference.
Yes, this is a reference to a 1988
Yeah.
film starring Tom Hanks as a young boy who makes a wish to be big.
Yeah.
And then on one of these machines, and then he's aged to adulthood overnight.
And becomes a toy company executive bod.
Does he? How long ago did you watch that?
Oh, when it came out?
How do you remember that?
Well, I don't know.
Why is it worthy of entry into the Sitcom Showdown Hall of Fame? I've got a few reasons.
All right, have you selected a bunch of highlights?
Yes. I've got some things to run through.
Okay.
But I'm expecting you to jump in.
Oh, you want me to answer that question?
Right.
Right. Well, it's going to be slim pickings from me because I've got very few points to make because I was just enjoying the episode. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much, because you watch sitcoms and you can pick out a line and say that line was really good, or this bit was really good, or that bit of the plot setup was really well done. But I found myself, and I often do with news radio, is not wondering about those things, but instead just marvelling at the way all of the characters deliver their lines. I mean, they're good lines, there's no doubt, but just the way they do it is just astonishing, and the chemistry of the whole crew, it's amazing. So, Beth was great in the jumble scene, and just the way Vicky Lewis, I should say, is just the way she delivers her lines throughout. Sometimes, it's over the top and a bit theatrical, but she totally nailed it in this episode, and it's just brilliant.
I agree.
And if you put someone else in, it might be a bit more pedestrian. I love the way when Stargate Defender is unveiled by Beth and Dave recoils from it, and it's like he can't make eye contact with it.
Well, she
like
does
it's a human
like a
being.
pirouette
Yeah.
to unveil it or something like that, and he recoils.
Yeah, that's right. So she's so happy and he's just horrified. But I just like the way, he sort of... It is like an old girlfriend or lost love of his or whatever, and he just can't make eye contact and he's all shy and he's backed himself up against the wall. It's really cool. And yeah, Dave Foley, brilliant throughout this. So yeah, I spend my time just being amazed by the actors and the way they do their thing. And I like how they got out of the office as well, which doesn't often happen. So they went to the high school.
Yep. Yes, well, I've got some notes about the plot, but you picked up on one of my major points, which is the cast in this. I mean, there was some kind of alchemy going on when they put these actors together, because they're very different, but something magical happens when you put them all together in news radio, and they take, well, I think this is a strong script, but they lift it just amazingly, I think. And we talked about, Dave's reaction when he sees Stargate Defender, these kind of things, and the way Beth unveils it. I don't know how much of this they can't have scripted the genius that they put into the reactions and that sort of stuff.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, and I think if you had completely recast the thing, it could have easily not worked, despite it, being a well-written show.
There's other episodes like there's one called The Cane, and it's an episode where Bill gets a cane.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You go, how come this... You read the synopsis, Bill gets a cane, and you go, well,
what?
Okay. But then you watch it, and it's just comic genius. And it's all the strength of...
Phil Hartman,
Dave Foley, you put them together, they turn it into something amazing. Anyway, we're waffling a bit about that. So back to the plot. I like how the Sandwich and Stargate Defender plot lines intersect with the IQ/SAT storyline.
Yeah.
After Dave stays up all night. And then we get this story developing where the kids mistake Lisa for Dave's hot mum. And then Lisa tells Dave off, just like his mum did. And then he wants to be big, so there's this funny little storyline that develops there at the end of the episode. Yeah. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't know, but I like the way they revealed, Dave had to confess that that's what happened the first time he sat the SATs, as he'd stayed up all night playing Stargate Defender.
Yes, I didn't mention that specifically in the
lead up,
in the synopsis, but we discover that this is exactly what happened to Dave the first time he sat his SATs. Well, he stayed up all night playing Stargate Defender, and his mum told him off.
Yeah.
Just like Lisa did.
It makes you wonder how he did that, because the arcade wouldn't be open all night, especially on a school night, and where his mother's thinking, where's Dave?
Yeah.
But never mind all that.
Yeah,
that's completely irrelevant.
Let's get past that. So do you think they're just taken the fact that Dave Foley is a youngish-looking bloke and written a whole riff around that? Or?
Oh, totally. I reckon that's exactly what it is. It is genius.
Of course, I wrote here that these days Dave was getting told off by his mum for getting a massively high score on Stargate Defender, but these days you'd be considering a career in playing video games.
You totally would. You'd be
on
at the
Twitch
internationals.
or something like that.
Yeah, completely.
He never would have become a radio station manager.
Definitely not, and he'd still be living in Mum's basement, doing it all from
Wisconsin.
There.
Yeah. We've got parallels. We're hearing about Bill's mum making sandwiches for him a month's worth at a time, and she would leave them in a box on the porch, which is just absolute genius.
Where do they come up with this stuff?
Yeah, but it really develops his character and gives you an insight as to how he could turn into the larger-than-life character that he's become. In fact, all three major characters, Dave, Bill and Lisa, get some backstory as we return in a way to their teenage years in this episode. Another fantastic scene is the one where Dave dies in Stargate Defender, goes to put another quarter in, and he realises that the sun's come up.
He just turns around and the first red rays of morning sun are coming through the New York skyline, and
his reaction is just priceless. He goes, oh no. You can just see him thinking, it's happened again. And he goes to the lift.
The poor guy.
The lift arrives, and Dave bursts into the lift, desperate to go home for a bit of sleep before he comes back to work. Of course, Matthew is walking out of the lift.
Coming into work for the
Dave, are you just going home? Dave says, no.
I just got here.
I just got here too.
Oh.
And then Lisa comes into his office a bit further along to take him off to the SATs, and she says, are you ready? And he's like fallen asleep on his desk, and he puts his head up and says, I was born ready.
Yeah. Not very convincingly, I should add.
Very unconvincingly, but very funny. Jeff, I've covered all the high points.
Yep.
Been through the plot. What do you think? Is it going to get in or not?
Oh, easily.
Easily.
Yeah, this episode should easily enter the Hall of Fame.
If it was a high jump or a pole vault, this would have gone 2 feet over the bar.
I think so. And I know it ranks very highly on your personal all-time favourite sitcom episodes, but I think with news radio, there's no shortage of great episodes, and I think there's still possibly even better ones to be had.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you
that's all.
how you think it sits within the news radio canon, whether it's...
Oh, I reckon it'd sneak into the top 10. And that's not to do it down or anything. I mean, I'd have to spend a few hours going over all the episode summaries but the thing is I'd watched all of news radio just a few months ago from start to finish. And by the end, I was completely worn out. And then you get into the tail end and there's no Catherine and there's no Bill, and it starts to just get a bit more Matthew-centred. And so maybe we can discount the last couple of seasons.
What about the episode where Jimmy James runs for president? And the only
brilliant.
reason he's run for president is to drum up a bit of interest in himself because he's looking for a wife.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And when Jimmy James has his highly successful book translated into Japanese a few years before, but now they've retranslated it from the Japanese back into English. Jimmy James, super macho donkey wrestler or something. Macho business donkey wrestler or something the translation comes out as, and then he has this book reading which nobody turns up to.
How could you go wrong with a Jimmy James-centric episode?
No, exactly.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for bringing it along.
And we'll see you next time on Sitcom Showdown. Bye.
Cheers. Join us next time on Sitcom Showdown when we'll be putting another 5-star episode under the microscope. And in the meantime, you can contact us with feedback on Facebook, Twitter @Sitcom Showdown, or by email sitcomshowdown@gmail.com.